Okay. All right. Are we starting?
We've started.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, it's a pleasure to be with you here. This is our third section of our prayer book Hebrew. We are learning classical Hebrew, um, Sephardic, and also the Yemeni Hebrew is more rooted to biblical. But in this case, we are looking at materials that are Sephardic and pronunciation accordingly. Um, I have been getting some uh, good work from the students. I understand and realize that because of some technical issues, we're getting some things together um, that the teaching for this last section was a little late in coming, but I think we've got the system down now. And if perhaps you have not turned in your homework yet for section 2, don't worry. Just do the best you can. Try to get it into this next week. We don't want you to get too far behind, mind you, but sometimes we run into these speed bumps, and we are going to just work with them and moving forward. Now, one of the students asked a question in one of the emails I received regarding whether or not it would be appropriate to ask questions as I'm going through the material, or on the mic even. And I said that that would be fine because I do think that that enhances the learning. So if there are questions folks have as we go through, that's perfectly fine. And also another note that I wanted to make is that for some reason, and I don't know if you may have noticed this or not, but we need to add page 8 in. I have that. So we're going to go over that. That has to do with a definite article, and somehow I glossed over it last time. So we're going to reel the tape back a little bit and look at our vocabulary for this chapter. And remember, we are learning about the feminine noun. And so, as we said earlier, in Hebrew, it's critical to know the gender and to make things match up. And I can see that you guys are really grasping this, because when I was looking at the work that was turned in for the second section, clearly it was, you guys are understanding it quite well. If we have any questions before we start, go ahead, get on the mic, ask some questions. Otherwise, we're going to get into our material. I see a comment from Allison. That's fine, Allison. That's fine. Just whenever you can get it done. I understand. Remember, these are being taped, so you can go back to them and do review if you like. And whenever they do come in, within 24 hours or so, I think that's been the experience of the students that have already had homework graded and sent back to them. The grades sent back to them, rather. I get to that pretty quickly, and I plug it into the spreadsheet program for the grades. And so I'm keeping track of all this very carefully. So when you do turn it in, it will get accredited, and then you will get a response from me, okay? Okay, all right, very good then. Let's continue then with chapter 2, and we're going to go to the vocabulary first. Then we will go to the prayer, and then I want to show you, as we'll continue down the exercise, but I want to show you that page too that I think we glossed over. So I'm going to hit my screen share here, and let's go to our vocabulary. All right. So use that there. All right, good deal. So if we remember, we have, for this vocabulary, we have aim for mother. We have barakah. And now I mentioned that the transliteration should be more like this, B-R-A-C-H-A, because we have a shavah here. So that is like a short S sound. It's even shorter. It's barely noticeable. We know that we have a segol, which can be under any letter, which is a more of a firm sound, as in the English word bed. But the shiva, the first shiva here, is a very slight baraka. So then this probably would be more appropriate to transliterate it that way. I mentioned that because I noticed in one of the homework there was a B-A-R-A, and there is a form of baraka, but in this case, the base form for blessing, baraka. Next, eretz, E-R-E-T-Z. The word for you, feminine, I'll put at, like that. And it's feminine, so it's singular. Now, this I want to point out too, because I noticed on the homework, this right here, that is simply part of the way the book is showing it to you. That is not part of Hebrew. That little bar right there is not a Hebrew mark. That is basically showing you that this connects to something. And so even in Hebrew, you don't see things that are English punctuation, like sentences, like exclamation marks, things like that. But sometimes the book, in order to convey the literary meaning here, or the grammar meaning here, it puts some of these in to help you with this. So really what we're going to see on the beginning of a word is this here. If I clear this off a little bit. Okay. So just this here. And this part right here is just letting you know that it's connecting to something. Okay? I wanted to clear that up. So we get ha, something. He means she or it. Zot, the word for this, feminine. Me means who. Shabbat. Okay, good. And Sarah. All right, so those are two clarifications I knew I needed to make. This one here and this one here, in noticing some of the work that's coming in for future reference. All right, so now let's move down. And I think we covered about this noun, and we have this chart here where we have our masculine or feminine. I don't think we need to go over that again. But what we do need to look at is what is in between here. So let me stop this here, and we're going to open up this one. This is what we missed the last time, okay? So the in Hebrew. I know you guys didn't see this one yet because I had to piece it in later. I noticed it was missing. All right, let me go to annotate. And let's see, what do we got? I thought I saw a, let's move this down here. Okay, so the English word the, let me see if I can get this to come down a little bit. There we go. So now we got some room to work with. How about that? That's probably the best right there. Okay, so the English word the is not a separate word in Hebrew. Instead, the letter hey is attached to the beginning of the Hebrew noun. Usually there will be the vowel patach under it. So let me get to my draw here. We can look at this. So what we have here in this bar is patach, P-A-T-A-C-H, and it's a sound, and it's considered a short A class, because we know we have another a sound, that's kametz, in that sheet that I sent to you. And so notice that there is a dot following the letter. In other words, the letter that follows hey has a dot in it. For example, let's look at this word here, melech. You guys are familiar with that. But notice in the mem, with Melech standing alone, there's no dot in there. There's no dagesh. But if you add the hey, what happens? The next letter gets a dagesh. So that's what they're pointing out here. Okay, move down a little bit here. Well, let's look at another couple of them here. All right, so we have Shabbat. Notice in the sheen, there's no dagesh in there. But if you add ha to it, suddenly a dagesh shows up in the next letter, which in this case would be sheen. Ha Shabbat. Okay? Move down a little more. Okay, we're at the very end here. That's why it won't run for me. All right, so here we have baracha, blessing, and then we add the ha to it, which makes it the. That part is the. And then blessing, notice, dagesh. Okay? So that is something that we sort of overlooked last time, and maybe we'll answer a few questions as we continue. Okay. Let me stop this here. All right, let me look in our chat here, see if we've got anything. Allison Gary has asked, is it bracha or beracha? Because the is so slight, you barely hear it. What we're talking about here, let me bring this up here so we can see what we're talking about here. Share screen. Let's see here. Okay, where's it at? There it is, right here. Let's look at this here. Okay, because this is the one we're looking at. This is what the question was about. So how should this best be translated? If we made it beracha, it would look like this. Which isn't a way that this is written. So that's wrong. So, and if we made it baracha, it would be like this. Which is not the way it's written. So we know that's not right. So what this is simply bracha. Okay, so in between the bet and the resh is this very slight sound. Very slight. Okay, so I hope that clears that up for you guys. But it's much slighter than a segol. Okay, it's much slighter. So we would not, if it was a segol, we would translate, as I said, BER. And we don't see it that form. All right, let's move on here. Any other sort of feedback or anything that you're noticing? Because we're going to start getting into some deeper exercises here. And I think that we finished page 12, if I'm not mistaken. So let's continue on to page 12. All right. $11. And so we finished this part here, and now we are at the part where we rewrite the sentences below, replacing the underlined word. And let me see what else we got here. I tell you what, we'll do this one together. And some of you should be able to figure this out as we go along, and I would love it if you feel that you know the answer. Just go ahead and put it on the mic, okay? So let's Bring our little pen down here. Okay, so rewrite the sentences below, replacing the underlined word with the word that follows. Change from masculine to feminine or feminine to masculine when necessary. Okay, so here's our first example. We've got he, ha-aim. She is the mother. But what happens if we get rid of this and make it this? Suddenly, this has to change, doesn't it? And so that's how he changes to who, because it has to match ha-av. He is the father. So that's essentially what we're doing here. Okay? So let's look at the first one. Number one, we have who, Moshe. So what that means is he is Moses. But if we get rid of Moshe and make it Sarah there, what happens to this one? Does anybody know?
Is he?
It would be he. That's right. Very good. So it would look like this. Okay. My yod is a little out of sorts today. There we go. Well, that's probably not the best Aleph either, but you get the idea. He. All right. Let's go to number two. Zot ha'eretz. This is the land. Now, notice this here. Remember, there's two forms of this. Connected to land is feminine. So what happens if this gets changed to this? Who can pronounce it? Zeh.
Zeh.
Very good. That's right. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Number three, Sarah, aim. Sarah is a mother. But now we're going to change this one, and we're going to put Moshe in there. So what does this become then? We can't say Moses is a mother, obviously. That would be silly. So what can we put in there?
Av.
Av, sure. We could put Av in there. All right. Good. Mi ha-av. Who is the king? So in this case, the king's, or the father rather, mi ha-av. Who is the father? Sorry about that. So now we need to say, who is ha-aim, the mother? Does anything change? We should not see any changes there, because remember, doesn't matter. That is simply the word who, and it's a question. So that doesn't change. It is the same whether it's masculine or feminine gender. So
Question. Excuse me. So is who considered a feminine pronoun or just neutral?
Who is masculine?
Oh.
This right here. That's what you're talking about. Who?
I was actually talking about me, which means who. That's what I meant. Sorry.
If we look up there, it is shown in the feminine noun vocabulary list, but you will see as we go further on, there is no separate word for who, even if the noun being talked about is masculine. So that's a good question though, because yeah, you could assume that otherwise, couldn't you? Okay, so let's look at this here. Zot ha-Shabbat. This is me, by the way, me. There we go. All right, Zot ha-Shabbat. This is the Sabbath. So we get rid of this and we put Melech in there. What happens to this one?
Zeh.
Zeh, that's right, Zeh. All right, let's go to number 6. At Sarah. You are Sarah. So we get rid of Sarah and we put Moshe. What happens to this? Anything? that becomes, let's see, what is this? A-T-A.
Eta.
Yeah, ata. Yeah, you're right. I was trying to get my Nakud here together for you guys. All right, number 7.
Sorry.
Ani aim. I am a mother. Oh, we get rid of mother and we replace mother with av, meaning father. Does anything happen to Ani? No, stays the same. Stays the same. Now, I'm going to tell you a little something that you're not going to run into down the road. That you are going to run into down the road. I don't know why I'm saying things backwards tonight. But for these purposes, you're going to see ani used interchangeably, feminine or masculine. But down the road, they're going to introduce a particular type of feminine form of I, and it's anochi. Okay, but that's coming a little bit. But for right now, for our purposes, I is used interchangeably. In most cases, it is. All right, let's go to ata melech. You, masculine singular, you are king. So what happens when we get rid of melech? Sarah, you are Sarah. Can we still use ata?
At.
We have to use at. That's right. So in that case, it's going to be this one right here. It's going to be just like this. At. All right. 9. Zot barakah. And so we know that barakah is feminine gender. Zot, feminine gender. That matches, of course. Get rid of barakah, put Shabbat. Do we remember what gender Shabbat is?
Same.
Feminine.
Feminine. So does this change at all?
No.
No. Okay, good. All right. So you guys are really getting this. Ze melach. This is a king. But what happens if we just throw the definite article on there and make it ha melach? Anything change with ze? No, because melach is still in there, isn't it? Masculine. All right, that completes this round of exercises, guys. And I feel like we are getting a good handle on this. I hope you guys feel the same. And of course, we can go over this material if more. So let's go over our blessing over the bread and the wine, and we'll just complete this chapter before we carry on to the next chapter. Let's go to draw here. All right, so what we have here is Baruch Atah, and remember this is our little abbreviation for Yahuwah, Yud He Vav He. They do that out of respect for the Jews. Eloheinu Melech HaOlam HaMotzi Lachem Min Haaretz. And the familiar tune is Baruch Atah Yahuwah Eloheinu Melech HaOlam HaMotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. And then the rejoinder, Amen. Okay? And so, blessed are you, Yahuwah, our Elohim, King of the universe, the one who brings forth bread, min, from Haaretz, the earth. All right, good deal. Okay, so let's move down here to the blessing over the wine. And this is the one, as we said before, you probably heard at Sukkot. And it's very similar. Baruch Atah Yahuwah Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Borei Pari Hagafen. And we have a similar tune. Baruch Atah Yahuwah Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Borei Pari Hagafen. Amen. All right. Good deal. So blessed are you, Yahuwah, our Elohim, King of the universe. Now this Boré, do you notice that that is a form of bara? Notice that. Now where do we see bara? I'll give you a clue.
Genesis.
It's the second word of the Bible. The very second word. We have Bereshit bara. In the beginning, created. So there's where that's coming from. All right, so that completes that chapter. And let's continue on now, and we will open up chapter 3. Let's see here. I'll get into my... all right, chapter 3. Okay. Close that down. Let's see here. Now, this is a little more condensed chapter. I'm scrolling through a few more pages here than the first two. Builds upon itself, gets more condensed. All right, any questions before we start in the chat? Yeah, Marcel, go to the head of class. That's right. All right. Let's see here. Chapter 3. So let's look at our overview real quickly. And so this says read and translate the following sentences. We have number 1, mi ata. And so we get who are you, right? Number 2, ani Moshe, I am Moses. Mi at, who are you? But in this case, it's feminine singular. Ani Leah, I am Leah. Mi zot, who is this? But in this case, the this being talked about is feminine somebody. Zot Sarah, this is Sarah. There's the answer. Mi hamelach, who is the king? Moshe hamelech, Moses is the king. All right. So that covers our oral review. Let's move down a little bit here. And we've got some new vocabulary now, guys. So let's look over this. This is probably familiar to you. Avraham. A-V-A-R-A-H-A-M. Avraham. How about the word for these? And notice it's both masculine and feminine used. It's similar to perhaps ani, at least preliminarily, but in this case, it is the word these. Ela. Let's see how I can transliterate this. Maybe as close as I can get. Ela. Davar, meaning word or thing. Notice that that is masculine. D-A-V-A-R. Haim is they, but it's masculine. Notice that. And here's our indicator for masculine. Keep an eye on that. H-A-I-M. We can transliterate that way. Now there's another word for they, and it's feminine, and notice that it's hain. So this is the indicator for femininity in this case, and this is the indicator for masculinity as pertains the word they. Let's see. A-I-N. Okay, now we have another connector here, the vav, and notice that this little thing here, that's just to show you that it's connecting, but all you're going to see is the vav. So it's the something. Proper name, Leah. Finally, Torah. And notice feminine. Torah feminine, just like Eretz, just like Shabbat, just like Brakah. Are you starting to get a theme of how, this is how I distill it anyway, that all of these things that show a blessing, that show softness, that show, well, shall we say the best parts of humanity, the feminine gender. I don't know if I'll get any points for that, but I'm seeing it in the Hebrew, my friends. I think that studying the Hebrew demonstrates how the Father has a heart for complete and total unity, that there should not be one ruling over another, but there is equal importance. Baruch Hashem. All right, let's see here. I'm done with my soapbox sermon. Move down here. Okay, so masculine nouns are indicated by M, feminine nouns by F. That's kind of self-explanatory. Let's go down to masculine and feminine plurals. Masculine nouns are usually made plural by adding the ending "im." So let me alter this a little bit. So let's say there's any letter here at the end of a word with this Hirik, Yod, Mem, Sofit combination. So let's say we're talking about one king. We have Melech. But if we want to have more than one king, we're talking about it's Melachim. Notice. Hirik, Yod, Mem, Sofit, suffix. And notice that this Haf Sofit, because it no longer becomes the last letter in the word, reverts to its normative form. Melachim, because we're adding the suffix on, right? And notice that this is, for the most part, masculine. So the word for word or thing, davar. If we want to say words or things, Devarim, which, by the way, happens to be the name of one of our books of the Bible. Does anybody know which one in English that's familiar? Devarim is Deuteronomy. It's literally what it is in Hebrew, Devarim. These are the words that Moses spoke to the people. All right. Feminine nouns are usually made plural by adding the ending ot, holem, tav, suffix. So let's look here at this word here, eretz, land. But if we want to make it say lands, it's aratzot. Aratzot. And notice the suffix. And like the previous one I pointed out, in this case we have the Zadik Sofit. Well, it reverts back to regular Zadik because it no longer becomes the last letter in the word. Instead, Tav is the last letter when we add the suffix on. Okay? How about Shabbat? Okay, if we want to say Sabbaths, though, it becomes Shabbatot. And notice we see the suffix here. Holem, Tav, ending. And notice, this is important to look at here. Let's go back up to this Eretz. Notice Segol, Segol. You're going to see some vowel pointing changes when a transition is happening from singular to plural. So what happens here? Instead of a full instead of the sagol, it becomes a reduced patach or chataf patak. Reduced. Okay? That's the point of the Shabbat. It throws a muzzle on it a little bit. Then, notice over here under the resh, we have sagol. Well, guess what? This changes completely to a patach, which is a long A-class vowel. So there's quite a few changes that happen here when you convert from singular to plural, as pertains the word eretz, for land. Okay, let me close, let me see if we got any questions or comments down here. Okay. Wow, somebody answered that question I had, Deuteronomy. Good deal. Ellie did. All right.
Could I ask a question about when you pronounced eretz and then changed it to plural eretzot? You just pointed out how the vowel pointings change, but it didn't sound like the pronunciation changed that much in the root word.
Oh, it changes to aratzot. Ah sound instead of eh. Let's look at it again. That's a good question. Let's bring it up here. So this is the one we're talking about here. Okay. So we are looking at this one. In the singular form, it's eretz. But if we convert to plural, it becomes aratzot. Notice because we have an A-class vowel, even though it's reduced with the Shavah. It goes from S sound, segol, to aratzot. Does that make sense?
Yes, that helps a lot. Could you clarify on Shabbatot? Does that change? Or it doesn't change at all, does it?
Nope. We've got patak, we've got kametz, and we've got patak, we've got kametz. Shabbat or Shabbatot. But they're showing you this to show you that the possibility of certain words can change, even so, perhaps seemingly more so than others. Okay. Let's see here. Page 16, plural nouns. In both English and Hebrew, nouns are made plural by adding endings to their singular forms. Hebrew nouns are always either masculine or feminine. Masculine nouns are usually made plural by adding the ending im. So that's hirik, yod, mem, sofit. That combination. Feminine nouns, now notice this word usually, they're going to show you some exceptions down the road, feminines are usually made plural by adding the ending ot, which is holem, tav. Notice this little X here can be any letter at all. That's the point of that. So let's go to the unusual ones now that they're showing. So many Hebrew nouns are exceptions to the basic rule of forming plurals. Look at the plural of the Hebrew word av. And my goodness, there is such a teaching in this, my friends. There is such a teaching. I can connect this grammar to the entire teaching of the first mention of Adam in Genesis chapter 2. But I can't get into that right now. You'll have to come to one of my more my studies that are beyond the scope of this. But notice this. We have Av, but if we change to fathers, it has what is ordinarily a female plural suffix. Isn't that something? Av, avot. And yet we know for sure that av is masculine. Okay, so let's look down here. Av takes the feminine plural ending ot, even though it is a masculine noun. Masculine nouns sometimes take the feminine plural ending, and feminine nouns sometimes take the masculine plural ending im. So the point they're making here is that in most cases you can get an idea of the gender, but there are some exceptions as well. However, masculine nouns are always masculine and feminine nouns are always feminine, no matter what plural ending they have. So, for example, the word avot, meaning fathers, okay, bring this down a little bit, is still masculine, even though it has the ending ot. Many nouns gain or lose letters when plural endings are attached. So let's look at this here. We have some examples. Okay, so the word for mother, we've already gone over this, is aim. But notice what happens. We have plural for mothers, or for mother, which is mothers. We have imahot. Notice that the zere changes to chirik. And we have the addition of a patach under the mem. And so we get something like this. Imahot versus A-I-M. Okay? Imahot. Notice under beracha. Okay? We have the plural, berachot. Berachot. All right, so we see this, the ot ending, and we see the o ending. At least we know that these are normative feminine suffix. Okay, let's go down to, here we go. There are many feminine nouns like baracha that end in this other ending. We have kametz he ending, okay? The noun always lose the letter he when the feminine plural ending is attached. Okay, so this part gets X'd out, and this gets added on. That tav is a bit of a shabby looking tav, but you're getting the point. That gets, it drops a letter and it adds the suffix. So that's what we're going to see too. That's what we're talking about. Whenever new nouns appear in the vocabulary list of each chapter, we will give you the singular and the plural form of the noun. You must learn both of these forms. Okay, so let's look at the list of all the nouns we have learned so far, both singular and plural. All right, so we have the word for king, melech. Kings, melachim. One word, devar. Many words, devarim. One word or one nation, many nations, amim. Shabbat, for one Sabbath, many Sabbaths, Shabbatot. Eretz, one land, many lands, aratzot. Just a single blessing, barakah. Multiple blessings, barachot. Single mother, aim. Many mothers, imahot. Single father, av. Many fathers, avot. Okay. Let's see here. Now, looks like we've got a chat here. Let's see what we got in the chat. Okay, good. All right. Let's go to, now I have not given you guys the canting or the prayer. We got to make sure we get to that before we run out of time. So we're gonna at least as far as the instruction part of today, I think we're gonna finish. We'll see, we're at page 17. So let's go down here to, wonder if I can get to, there we go. How about do we do it that way? Maybe I can figure out how to make this work. There we go. All right, let's bring this down to 200%. That's better. So we have a new one here. Seem Shalom. Okay, we know seem, grant, shalom. We've already covered shalom. I don't remember if we've covered, I don't think we've covered tov yet. Tova, yeah, maybe we have. Uvaracha, hein, v'chesed, v'rachamim. Okay, so translation, grant peace, welfare, blessing, grace, loving kindness, and mercy. So we have rachamim, and here we have chesed, hein, plural. We've covered that in our chapter here. Uvracha, blessing, goodness, tova, okay? So let me give it to you again. Sim, shalom, tova, uvracha, hein, vahesed, varachamim. And it goes something like this. I'll see if I can get it right. Sim, shalom, tova, uvracha, hein, vahesed, varachamim. Okay? And it's got a kind of a neat little tune to it, I think. But it's almost like a kind of an upbeat kind of tune to it, a happy tune. A little bit of entreaty there. Grant to us peace, goodness, blessing, grace, loving kindness, and mercy. So notice in the Sim Shalom, this is the final prayer in a larger prayer called the Shemana Esrei, or Amidah prayer, in the morning service. Now, this information is usually what traditional Jews are doing. We as Essenes, I believe, and I feel, we can take these elements and we can apply them to our own liturgy. And so that's primarily one of the reasons we're learning this. But notice grammatically, notice the typical feminine ending. Okay, kametz hey of the nouns bracha and tova.
If I could break in, we're doing that right now. In fact, I'm working on that liturgy right now to use what you're saying and change the melodies. So we're going to see that real soon, thanks to you.
All right, Baruch Hashem, that's wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Snyder. We appreciate that. Okay, let's see here. It says, notice the repeated use of vav, meaning and. So there's a lot of connectors in there. We see it here. We see it here. We see it here. Notice in this case, it doubles, it has the oo sound. In this case, it's got kametz. In this case, it's the normative, shabbat. But every single one of those means and. Okay, so let's go down to our last one here. We are now looking at something called the Shehachianu. Nice big long name for you, the Shehachianu. All right, so let's look here. We've got Baruch Atah, and of course, this is our abbreviation. We'll put Yahuwah in there. Eloheinu, Melech Ha'olam. Blessed are you, Yahuwah, our Elohim, King of the universe. And we have Shehachianu, V'kiyamanu, V'higianu, Lazman Hazeh. So Shehachianu, who has made us live. V'kiyamanu, sustained us. V'higianu, brought us. Lazman, season. Hazeh, to this season. All right. And so the Shehachianu is usually recited the first day of all of the feasts. Okay? It's basically a thanksgiving prayer that the Father has allowed us to live the number of days to reach the next appointed time. And so that's a blessing. All right, so let's look at it here. Baruch atah Yahuwah Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu, lazman hazeh. And then usually we'd have the rejoinder, Amen. All right. Very good. So we are coming down to the end of our instruction time. So what I want to do is I want to give you guys some assignment for this week. I don't want to make it too heavy this week because we've still got some people catching up from last week. So here's what we should do. Let's see, we need previous here. Get down to number 1. There we go. We can get it to open up here. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to write the vocabulary as we normally do. Give us the transliteration. Give me the gender. Give me the translation. Okay, and then write in Hebrew. Write them out. And so, so that you can practice writing these. And let's see here. I think, get back to my mouse here. Number 8. Okay. Let's see where. See, these are the exercises. We finished in 17, didn't we? Okay, so let's go down to 18. We have just a few minutes left, about 5 minutes, so let's carry on with this here. And what I'll do is I will just leave you guys with that vocabulary to lighten the load a little bit. And then we're going to really hit it the next time because we'll be getting into exercises that are more complex. Okay? So now let's look at this little device here that we were looking at, the Vav. So, and in Hebrew, the English word and is not a separate word in Hebrew. Instead, the letter Vav is attached to the beginning of a word. So, for example, Av, meaning a father. But if you want to say and a father, it's V'av. Okay? Now, what about the king? Ha-melech. But if we want to say and the king, it's V'hamelech. Okay, continue on down here. We go to ani. Ani meaning I, or how about v'ani? Notice the change. Sometimes under the connecting vav, we have a nakud change, very similar to sometimes what would happen when we move from a singular to a plural. In this case, it ceases to become the normative shavava and becomes a patach. Patach. So we get va'ani in this case. Okay, and now below, they're going to talk to us about this a little bit. So the vav and usually has the vowel shava under it. You will also see it with a vowel. We could see a hirik under it. We could see a segol, we could see a patach, and we could see a kametz. So the main thing you need to keep in mind here is this connected to a known noun? If it is, you know it's the connector. And. The vav is the connector and, meaning and rather. Okay, and sometimes we see it written like this, and it's pronounced oo. In that case, it becomes it becomes literally the sound of the vowel, but it still maintains its position as the connecting vav. So notice it's not vu. It loses its V sound. This is all part of the operation, and I think I explained this to one of the students that wrote me, something called the mother of reading operation. And what that means is sometimes what are ordinarily would be a consonant can double as an extension of a vowel, or in this case, we see that it's doubling as the connecting vav, which means and, even though it's not pronounced with the V sound. So that is what they're pointing out here. So here's an example down here. Let's look at this one. Av umelach. Literally, it means father and a king. A father and a king. Notice it's pronounced u melech. There's no V there. There's no V there. No, that's what they're pointing out. Okay, in every other case, if there's a V, if there's a vav there, if there's a vav here, a vav in any of these, it's pronounced. But in this case, this isolated case, it loses the V sound and simply goes to oo, whatever's connected to. Okay, does that make sense? We've got a lot of questions down here. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, okay. It's masculine, feminine. Is there time to write the transliteration for each word in the blessing? Oh, you mean Sim Shalom. Remind me to do that, Marcio, next week, and we will get to that. We're right down to the end here. Is there, let's see, next, let's see. The Sim Shalom would be a wonderful blessing over most anyone as in healing. Yes, it would be. Thank you, Allison. Okay, Aria, yes, we will do that. We will transliterate it out. And all right, good deal. It looks like we have covered what we need to cover this week. And just do the vocabulary. Remember, write it in Hebrew, transliterate it out for me. If it's got a masculine or feminine gender, stick it on there and give me the translation. And that will be good for this week. And that hopefully that will give the few that are having trouble catching up a chance to catch up. And we will get right back into it next week. Okay, any other comments, feedback? All righty, very good. Well, if there's nothing else, I will teach you another word, and I will bid you lahitraot, meaning see you later.